Hello guys, Assalamu alaikum. Or today's topic which we will discuss in the class is basically the slope. So how can you find out the slope when different conditions are given in front of you? So first of all, there are three different conditions in which we have to find out the slope. First of all, the objective of our class is finding a slope point number one when two coordinates are provided to you. Similarly, point number two, when equation of a line is provided, you have to find the slope. Point number three, you have to find a slope when a line to a function, any of a function is given. So these are the three conditions which we will discuss in the class, and we will see how can we find out the slope using these different conditions. First of all, condition number one, that is question number one. We have to find out the slope when two coordinates are provided to us. Like if we have been provided by the two coordinates which are 2, 3 and -1, 4. And we have to find out the slope. So how can we find out the slope? First of all, the basic formula for finding out the slope is rise upon run is equals to rise upon run. So what is basically the rise and what is the run? If we plot the graph, like this, and a line which has the two coordinates like 2, 3, 5, 7. These are the two coordinates and you have to find the slope of this line, and you have been provided by these two coordinates. So what is basically rise and run? Rise is basically the rise is basically the y-axis. Y-axis is equal to rise and x-axis is equal to run. That means the value for the first coordinate, that is x equals to 2 and the value of y is equals to 3. So the value of run is 2 and the value of rise is 3. In other words, we can say that the horizontal line is equal to run and vertical line is equal to rise. So how can we denote the slope? We denote the slope by using the symbol m equals to rise upon run. If you have been provided by the two different coordinates, so the formula for finding out the slope is y2 minus y1, that is the difference between the values of y and the difference between the values of x, that is run, x2 minus x1. For this question, you have to finalize the values of x1, x2, y1 and y2. If I finalize the values of x1, which is x1 equals to 2, y1 equals to 3. Similarly, x2 equals to minus 1 and y2 equals to 4. So, moving on, after solving, I'll get m equals to y2 minus y1. The value of y2 is 4 and the value of y1 is 3. Similarly, the value of x2 is minus 1 minus the value of x1, which is 2. So, m equals to 4 minus 3 gives us 1 and minus 1 minus 2 will gives us minus 3. So, the final value of the slope is minus 1 upon 3. I think question is quite clear that if you have been provided by the two different coordinates and you have been asked to find out the slope. So the formula for the slope is rise upon run, and the rise is basically the values of x and run is basically the values of, the rise is basically the values of y and the run is basically the values of x. So the formula is m equals to rise upon run, that is m is equal to the difference between the values of y upon run, which is basically the difference between the values of x. So you have to finalize the values of x1, y1, x2, y2. It doesn't matter that you have to take the values of x1 and y1 for the first coordinate. You can also take the values of x1 and y1 for the second coordinate, but you have to make sure that the particular coordinate should take the value of x and y. It does not consist of x1 and x2 because the particular coordinate indicates as the values of x and y. So if I want to finalize my values, I have done by saying that the value of x1 is 2 and the value of y1 is 3. Similarly, the value of x2 is minus 1 and the value of y2 is 4. After substituting my values in the formula, I'll get the answer n equals to 4 minus 3 upon minus 1 minus 2, and after solving, I will get n equals to minus 1 upon 3, which is basically the slope of the required question. Moving on towards the second condition, that if you have been provided with the equation of a line, so how can you find out the slope of that line? So for example, if you have been provided with the equation like x1, not x1, simply x minus 2y plus 4 equals to 0. This is our first question. Similarly, the second question is 4 minus 2x equals to 3y. So these are the two conditions and two different questions. So if I have asked you to find out the slope for the two different questions, so first of all, you must know the pattern to arrange the equation. The pattern to arrange the equation is y equals to mx plus c. So where y is basically the coordinate on the y-axis, x is the coordinate of the x-axis, m is basically the slope, and c is the coefficient. So, moving on, if we talk about question number one, question number one says that x minus 2y plus 4 equals to 0. If I want to arrange my question in the form of the given equation, I have to write it like this: minus 2y equals to the value of x. When shift on the right hand side, it will become minus x, and when plus 4 will shift on the right hand side, it will become minus 4. Since you observe in the given equation that the value of y is having the coefficient 1, so you also have to make sure that your question must have the coefficient 1. So you have to divide the whole equation by minus 2. After cancellation, it will become 1. So my final equation is y equals to minus and minus will cancel each other. It will become positive x upon 2, and minus and this minus will become positive again. 2 ones and 2 times is 4, 2. So this is my equation. And if I want to find out the slope of this equation, what I have to do, I just have to compare my formula, which is 1, I named it as 1, and my equation, which I named it as 2. What you have to do, just compare my values. The value of y is y, and if I want to compare the value of m, it is basically equals to 1 upon 2. For your easiness, I am writing the equation like this. Y equals to 1 upon 2 x plus 2. Now it is quite easy for you to compare the equation with the formula. So if I directly want to compare my value, so the value of m is the value of 1 upon 2. So I directly can say that the value or the slope of the given equation is 1 upon 2. I think the question is quite clear to you. After that, moving on towards the second question. Second question is, again, in the first step, what you have to do, just simply arrange the equation. If I arrange my equation, minus 2x equals to 3y. If I arrange my equation, it will become 3y equals to minus 2x plus 4. Since you have to make the coefficient 1, so y, you have to divide the whole equation by 3. Minus 2x by 3 plus 4 by 3. After cancellation, you will get y equals to minus 2 by 3x plus 4 by 3. This is the equation which we have written in the form of a formula. And directly, if I want to compare my equation, the value of this m is basically the value of this. So my final value which I received from the given question is minus 2 by 3. So this is your second condition, that if you have been provided by a single equation of a line and you have been asked to find out the slope of the equation, you just have to arrange your question or your equation in this form, in this simple general form, and after rearranging, you have to make sure that the coefficient of y must be 1. Then that you have to compare. After solving, you will get the equation as we have received in this question. After that, you have to compare the value of m with your value in the given equation. You will directly get the answer. I think these two questions quite help you a lot to make you understand that how to find out the slope of the given slope of a line when you have been provided by a single equation. Moving on towards your third condition. Third condition says that you have to find a slope when a line to a function is given. It means that when line is acting as a tangent to a function, you have to find out a slope. Simply, if we can say in the simple or the easiest words, that means you have to find out the derivative. So, how can you find out the derivative? The formula for finding out the derivative is tangent equals to the value of y upon the value of x. The value of y upon value of x. So you must be provided by the value or a single coordinate like 2 comma minus 1. Done. So what you have to do, just simply find out the value. Tan theta equals to the value of y is minus 1 and the value of x is 2. So to find out the theta, you have to make sure that you have to shift tan on the right hand side and it will become inverse minus 1 by 2. And after solving, you will get the final answer of the theta, which is basically the slope or the derivative. Then this is the simplest case in which we have been provided by a single coordinate and you have to find out the tangent. So simple is that the formula for the tangent is y upon x. The y is basically the, what you can say is the vertical value and the x is basically the horizontal value. The value of y which is given in this question is minus 1 and the value of x which is given is 2. After that, to find out or to receive the value of theta, you have to shift tan on the right hand side. It will become tan inverse, and after solving, you will get the final value of slope or the derivative. So these are the three techniques, three main basic conditions which you can be asked to find out the slope. But now the question arises, if you have been asked that what is the slope on the main x-axis? What is the slope on the main x-axis? So just make sure before solving, I am telling you the answer. The slope of the x-axis, that is the horizontal line, is 0. The slope on the main x-axis, that is horizontal line, is always 0. Make sure this is the question which can come in your paper as an MCQ. The slope on the main y-axis, that is vertical line, is always infinite. How it comes? There is basically the simple method. If we talk about our first blank, that is the slope on the main x-axis. The slope on the main x-axis, I said that it is basically always equals to 0. So we all know the simple formula for finding the slope is rise upon run. M equals to rise upon run. If we talk about this main x-axis, the value of y for all the values of x is always 0. Like if we talk about 1, 2, 3. If I simply take the values 3 and 2, that is basically the difference of the x-axis. But the values on both the points is always 0. The values of y on both the point is always 0. So if I substitute the values, rise is basically the y-axis. So 0 minus 0 divided by run, that is 3 minus 2, that is x2 minus x1, equals to 0 upon 1, which is always equals to 0. So hence it is proved that always the slope of the line, the slope of the main x-axis, that is the horizontal line, is always 0. Similarly, if we talk about the slope on the main y-axis is always infinite. How? Same formula, m equals to rise upon run. If we take the values, the main y-axis like this, 1, 2, 3, and so on. The values of x on the main y-axis is always 0. If I substitute these values in the given formula, rise is basically the values of y. So y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. 3 minus 2 is always 1 upon 0. And you all know that 1 upon 0 is always infinite. So hence it is proved that the answer for the slope on the main y-axis, that is vertical line, is always infinite, and the slope on the main x-axis, that is horizontal line, is always 0. So finally, here I conclude my today's lecture. I hope it will help you in your papers, and it will help you also to solve your questions regarding your topic.